Today on TimesCast, Colonel Qaddafi's forces fire on protesters after Friday prayers. An orthodontist becomes the media spokeswoman for the rebels in Benghazi. And some cable news networks are taking sides in the Midwest budget battles.
This truly is a fight for democracy.
The hate that you get from these demonstrators, you can see it in their faces.
This is Friday, the traditional day for protests here in Libya and around the Middle East. We journalists are here as guests of the Libyan government. We woke up to discover that the internet had been turned off. So I'm talking to you right now from a little satellite gizmo we've set up on the patio of our hotel room. Then we learned that the Qaddafi government had arranged for us all to take an airplane trip to a town in the desert south that's considered a Qaddafi stronghold. And when we rebelled against that, the government said that we were not allowed to leave our hotel, and if we did, we might get kicked out of the country. A few of us did sneak out to a mosque where we expected there to be a protest today. The people inside the mosque told us that because when they went out last week, the government had fired on them with live bullets and killed a number of them. They decided that instead of a march this week, they would do a sit-in. As it turned out, that wasn't the way it went down. They marched out of the mosque chanting, the people want to bring down the government, to a roundabout. And at that point, the security forces showed up. First, they fired tear gas, and as soon as they did, the crowd dispersed, not in one direction, but in three different directions, not all coming back to the mosque. I started to retreat to the mosque, but others did not. And then they went back after the tear gas and started throwing rocks in the direction of the security forces. The security forces then began firing into the crowd. Really astonished me, not because I didn't expect them to shoot protesters. They've been doing that for days now, but because I wasn't the only journalist there. There were at least 3 British television crews, as well as a reporter for the Associated Press, which means that in this instance, the Qaddafi government was actually shooting at their own people really before the eyes of the world. When I managed to make my way back to the hotel, I learned that during the same period of time, there appears to have been some kind of a shooting, possibly a massacre, in the town of Zawiya, a rebel-held city about 30 miles from here. The best I've been able to learn is that at least 13 people were shot and killed, the rebels say, by Qaddafi militia forces that are circling the town.
We are everywhere. Democracy. Women's voice will be louder. There's no other way. It is. We have the potential. We have the power.
This is David Botti reporting for the New York Times in Benghazi, Libya. For weeks now, at the city's main courthouse, the halls are filled with endless activity as a revolutionary council continues to challenge the rule of Colonel Muammar Qaddafi. Iman Borghegis is part of that effort as a media spokeswoman. She's one of many women here who've taken on new vital roles in shaping revolutionary politics. All workers here, men and women, are volunteers with little or no experience in what they're doing. Iman is an orthodontist and professor by trade. She's enjoyed prominent roles in society, but like many women here say, the possibility of democracy means realizing potential stifled under the old ways.
We have a lot of opportunities, okay? And we have many educated women as men. We don't have the experience. And we have never worked in institutions, real institutions. So we need also the help of Libyan women outside who worked in institutions.
Iman became a spokeswoman after herself and others helped occupy the courthouse as battles raged between demonstrators and security forces for control of the city. But she doesn't plan to stay a council spokeswoman for very long.
It's corrupted at all levels. We have to go back. This is what I think. Everybody has to go back and start fighting in his own place, but by law and by constitution, not like what they have done.
And as the Midwest budget showdowns attract increasing attention, some cable news outlets are taking sides.
Brian, we saw in the Middle East protests and now in Wisconsin that reporters are getting pulled into the story. And in Wisconsin, you see shots over and over of reporters trying to do stand-ups and protesters coming over their shoulder.
That's right, but it seems like in every story now, at least here in the United States, cable news channels, Fox News and MSNBC, become proxies for the issues that are being fought about. So it's not just Governor Scott Walker lies, it's Fox News lies. And there was one instance where the reporter claimed he was hit by a protester.
Now that guy just hit me, so they just let you know.
There was no video on Fox to show it, and then of course it became a giant debate online. Was he hit? Was he not hit? Was he just tapped on the shoulder? It's amazing how these stories take on a life of their own.
Both Fox and MSNBC, they're looking for a certain narrative on the way in that feeds their base. But sometimes the pictures don't always go with the story.
They don't. Well, on the O'Reilly Factor a couple of nights ago, Bill O'Reilly was talking about the Wisconsin protests, but while he was talking, there was video of a California union protest where a guy was shoved by another guy. That was a little violent, and it was trying to prove O'Reilly's point that there were thugs in these crowds in Wisconsin. On the other hand, you've got MSNBC, which is liberal in prime time, really wrapping themselves in the protest movement. At one point early on, Ed Schultz, so their new 10 p.m. anchor, was live in Madison with these sweeping views of the crowd, cheering with the crowd as it was going in and out of commercial breaks.
That this truly is a fight for democracy, and this is a stand that has to be made by working folk of America.
You can really see them taking sides in a way we didn't see a few years ago.
Join us again on Monday for TimesCast.